Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the RDH Sports podcast. I'm your host, Chad, joined by my brother, Tanner. How's it hanging, dude?
You know, it's been an interesting week in the NFL this past week. I want to hit on it immediately because I think it might be one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. Um, Taylor Swift, if you saw all the drama with her and Travis Kelsey, it's not drama. They're together. Kelsey got the
Are
bag.
they?
I think so. I mean, she was in the box, right, with Donna Kelsey, I think her name is. Kelsey's
You nailed it?
mother.
Yeah.
And they were talking like there are previous steps to this, like this is not the first time that they have interacted or like been on a date. Like this is months in the making. He's bringing her home to mama and she's there, she's in the box, and if you saw, jersey sales are up by like 400% for Travis Kelsey. So
A cool fool hunting?
not only do you have the Taylor Swift army, you have the Chiefs army. Like, is this not the greatest fan base in football at this moment?
I mean, they're already the loudest stadium. Can they
Exactly.
get any better? Like,
You got Taylor
can,
Swift fans. Like that's like the biggest fan base like in the world for like a
yeah,
music star. Like
yeah, yeah. Like, arguably the biggest like star in the world
yeah.
in terms of following. Like, I think she may be. I have no idea, but yeah, dude, I saw that and I was very surprised because I saw the rumors floating around. I didn't really buy it. You know what I mean? I thought it was just kind of clickbait stuff. And then yeah, there she was in the game. I was like, wait a second, I know who that is.
I'm
But yeah,
amazed.
no, you nailed it. You nailed it. That's the Taylor Swift update of the episode, which you got to hit on because it was the biggest story in sports this weekend. Literally
Yeah,
the biggest story in
absolutely.
sports. But jumping to the rest. So we got a little bit of college football we're gonna hit. We got some NFL recap we're gonna hit, and then we got some week 4 matchups that we do every week. Uh, Tanner will let you know the overall how we did last week in the pick'em. Not too bad, not too shabby. Tanner's best week. We'll start off there. But college football, the hype is officially over for Colorado. If you haven't seen it, they got destroyed by Oregon. I'm not one to ever really mess with the logo of a team in midfield. You know what I mean? I'm a hockey guy. I'm extremely superstitious. So I just think that's a lot of bad energy, and stomping on the logo and warming up on the logo before, it's just wasn't a good idea when I saw that. I mean, I already knew Oregon was going to win, but when I saw that, it was just like, oh, that's not even close. And then I watched the first half of the game, and I was like, yep, this one's over. And I moved on to the other, ranked games of the NCAA because we had the most ranked games since 2015. It was a great weekend of college football. We're not going to hit all of them, but did you watch the Colorado and Oregon game? Because that was just a blowout. And last thing I'll say about that, guess who they have this week?
They got USC.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. I'll be honest. I turned off that game because it was a shellacking. There was not really much there from Colorado. Oregon looked the part. They were definitely the better team, and they showed it. And I don't know. Maybe we were just overconfident a little bit about Colorado. I mean, they had a lot of really fun and exciting games, but that doesn't make you a really good football team. You know what I mean? You can play exciting, you can play flashy, you can do all this fun stuff, but like, I mean, it got down to it, and Oregon just stomped them. It wasn't really close, but I don't think Colorado's a bad team, but you know I don't think they're the best team in the NCAA. And right now they're probably out of the top 20. So
Yeah, I think they're out of the top 25. I think
mhm,
they kicked them when they
probably yeah.
released the rankings. But I mean, you knew that was going to happen. You know what I mean? And once again, last week we hit on it. Travis Hunter's not he wasn't playing, and he's arguably their best playmaker on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And when a big star like that's not going to play, but still, Colorado, it's the first year. You know what I mean? Starting off 2-0 is that's a great start, and we'll see how they do to finish out the season. They're going to be the best coach team in college football. I can tell you that much. Jumping to the next one. I don't know if you watched it, but the Clemson game. Clemson had the lead. They were up by 10, and just just blew it at the end. And Florida State, holds on to avoid the upset. Number 3, they dropped in the rankings a little bit, but that game I was close. I thought Clemson was going to come back, and it's weird seeing Clemson unranked. It's really weird seeing that, and they were in control of that game and were up by 10 points, and they just lost it at the end, and you hate to see that. But you got anything on that Clemson game? I mean, they were so close, and they just lost it.
I feel like I come on this podcast every Tuesday and just say how close Florida State was to losing. You know what I mean? And they just don't. That's not a bad thing. Let me say that. I think it shows resilience in a football team, but it also shows that you're not playing a complete game, especially if you're that highly ranked. So I don't know. What did they move? What did they move down to?
Oh, with Florida State, I mean, it wasn't a lot. They just dropped, I think, a spot. I think Texas jumped up to number 3, if I'm not mistaken. I think Georgia's still sitting there at number 1. Ohio State's number 2. And then Texas was 3, and I think they went to 4.
I mean,
but
what about sorry to cut you off, but I just have this feeling that what if, would you say USC is probably a better football team at the moment than Florida State?
Yeah, and USC's ranked right behind him. I think in number 5. Oregon was up there too in terms of ranking. So, the Pac-12, that's a,
yeah,
they're kind of going right now. You know what I mean? But yes, I would take USC over Florida State. The thing with USC though is you saw it at the end of last year. You have more of a veteran in Caleb Williams. It wasn't his freshman year. He's more veteran, right? Like I'm saying, more veteran with Caleb Williams. He's getting more rapport with his guys. He's been in the USC offense for a couple years now. You know what I mean? He's a veteran in college football, and he's probably going to be the first overall pick, right? That's just what's going to happen with Caleb Williams most likely. And when you have a player that gets better every year, when you didn't think he could get better, remember he won a Heisman last season, folks, and he's getting better this year. He's still in the Heisman race this year, which is crazy that he's continuing to follow up that talent. Yes, I take USC over Florida State. I take USC over a lot of teams, but like I was saying, and I'll finish my point, at the end of last season, you saw them have the ability to put up points, but they could not stop anybody. And if they didn't put up 55 points, they lost. Which in college football, you wouldn't think it, you see those games all the time, but 55 points every single week, every now and then you're going to have a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
But in college football, you can't. You can't have a bad game, because if you lose one game, arguably to the committee, you're out, right? The committee releases the rankings, and you're just like, wait, how? You know what I mean? I remember when A&M was number 4, I'm like, really? I'll take it, but really? We're number 4, and then we proceeded to lose the next week. But anyway, you see these rankings, and they're expanding, to more teams in the future, which is what I like to see. But I got USC, definitely.
Yeah, I'm just kind of preemptively thinking of the top 4 for the end of the season. And if Florida State sneaks in over USC, I'm gonna be a little tilted. Is kind of my discussion right there.
I would not be too happy. But another team that's in the top that we have to talk about, Ohio State, man, walked it off with a touchdown against Notre Dame. Walked it off against a touchdown. You know what I mean? Against Notre Dame. That was a game for the ages.
Mm-hmm. It was fun. It's Ohio State and Notre Dame. It was a really close matchup, I think, in terms of the standings. But how much time was left when they just put that ball in there? Were zeros on the clock? I think it was a walk off, right?
Yeah, it was a walk off. You can't give the ball back to Ohio State. I get it, you're up by 4, but you can't give the ball back to Ohio State, even if you're on your own. You just can't give them the ball back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just have to convert that last play, and the game is over. It's completely over. All you do is convert that last play, and it's over. So, man, college football is college football. Last week was a great week. Now jumping to the NFL, we got some big stories, and we're just going to start off with it. Dallas Cowboys got just rocked. They're just getting punched in the face. That was a knockout. That was a first round go out and just get decked. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Flying knee. Derek Lewis style, just out, out, out. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna let you start. What the heck happened?
Um, it's really hard because you go from like the previous week and the week before that where the Cowboys look unstoppable. Their defense looks like one of the best defenses in the league. The offense is, performing pretty well. And then you just go to this team where it looks like old Dallas again, where they're just giving up huge chunk plays in the passing game. They're giving up a lot of yards on the ground. The defense just isn't really doing anything. You're seeing guys just get wide open in coverage, guys that are just kind of missing tackles, failing assignments, and the defense just looked flat. Just didn't look like they were even there. It looked like they didn't show up to the game, And the offense, it wasn't terrible, They had success running the ball. I think Tony Pollard had over 100 yards or something like that. But Dak, man, I don't know what to say about that performance because there were some points when he was, getting some pretty good balls. But then there were some points where it's just like, oh, what was that? You know what I mean? But I don't know. It kind of just felt like you said, like a punch to the face. It didn't look like the same team. It really didn't. I don't know if Trayvon Diggs, his injury affected that loss at all. Probably in some kind of way, but I don't think it should have been that big of an impact. You know what I mean? But something happened, and they just didn't show up. I don't know. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean I think to me, what it screams is, yes, Trayvon Diggs. You're losing Trayvon Diggs. I'll start there because there's a lot. I'm gonna ramble here for a little bit. You have Trayvon Diggs there, and the thing that you saw most from last week is that we did not have any speed. You saw Hollywood Brown from Arizona catch the ball more times than he ever should have that game.
Mm-hmm.
Trayvon would have been on him, and Trayvon has speed. Deron Bland is great. I know a lot of fans think, hey, Deron Bland would start anywhere in the NFL. Yeah, in the slot, and you saw why, because he gets beat on the outside. Deron Bland is a great slot corner, but he gets beat a little bit on the outside. And you have Stephon Gilmore, who is brought in to be a number 2, not a number 1. So everybody jumps up a spot. So the Trayvon injury is a huge injury. It's a very big injury because Dallas is not necessarily deep at that position now. With Trayvon being, healthy, yeah, I would say that they're considered deep with Stephon Gilmore being your number 2. But with him being out, Stephon Gilmore jumps up to your number 1. I don't think it's at the point where you got to go trade to get somebody, but I do think what the defense has to do now is rush the passer.
Mm-hmm.
Because last game they got away from that. The Arizona Cardinals quite literally took Micah Parsons out of the game. They literally took him out of the game. They ran the ball away from him. And then when they did run the ball by him, there was like 4 people in front of him. And he wasn't even close. You know what I mean? There was a reason that I didn't have Micah Parsons as my defensive player in fantasy this week, and I had Logan Wilson, right? Like there's a reason. Because the thing with Micah is that he has these games where he's quite literally unstoppable. And then he has these games where the defense is just not there. And I don't know how to describe it other than what you said. There's just another Cowboys team. There always has been in previous years. I thought there wasn't another team this year. I'm not going to say that there's 2 teams, even though there was one bad performance. I'm going to hope there's not. But that's what I'll have to say on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, completely agree. Tony Pollard ran the ball well. Even the backup running back ran the ball well with Dwaddle. He ran the ball really well. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
He did.
And the offensive line, for having four non-starters.
Yeah.
4. There was only one player that was a starter, and one of them, and he technically came back. He wasn't a starter. He was hurt. Steele came back. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so when you have a brand new offensive line, you automatically think pass rush is going to be an issue. It wasn't. The line got some penalties in very critical situations, and that's what hurt the Cowboys was penalties in critical situations from the offense and from the defense. But the offense got penalties, and when that happens, and you have a player like Dak Prescott who was just completely just perfect pass and then a duck. Perfect
Mm-hmm.
pass and then a duck. You know what I mean? When you go to the red zone 6 times and get 3 points, yeah, of course you're not going to win the game. That's a minimum of 18. That's a minimum of 18 points you should get right there. Minimum. You should get 3. You're in the red zone. The red zone. I've made a 35-yard field goal on an NFL arena in Dallas Cowboy Stadium. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm a couch potato. I'm not saying I'm a couch potato, but I'm a couch warrior. You know what I mean? But they should not have that happen, and they just turned the ball over or got very dumb penalties. Tony Pollard was the only bright spot on that entire offense. Dak Prescott, I'll be honest, he did not look good at all.
Nope.
And yeah, regular season Dak is regular season Dak, but I expect him to come out next game and play extremely well. I expect Dak to play extremely well because he usually doesn't have 2 bad weeks in a row. But I did not expect the Cowboys to lay an egg this early in the season. I knew there was an egg. There's always an egg in the season.
Oh yeah.
But I would have liked to save it a little bit till the end.
Yeah. I just it's just the red zone efficiency for me is the big thing because I don't know. Their offense they could get moving. They could get down the field. They could get to the red zone, and they had some good drives.
Times.
Yeah, they had some good drives. And I don't know what to think in the red zone. For me, it's just kind of like run the ball. Just get as close as you can to that line, and then do what you can. But it kind of felt like they were just going away from the rush as soon as they got to the red zone. They're like, okay, let's pass the ball now. And I'll pull up a couple instances just for referencing. The one play where they threw the ball to CD in the end zone, and he didn't even try to catch it. You remember that play?
The penalty where he was calling for a penalty.
It was quote unquote penalty, and he kind of threw his arms up. He didn't even try to make a play on the ball, and it was like, I saw that moment, and I was like, "What are you doing?" I was just like, "What are you doing? Like, this isn't football. Like, this isn't." Like, sorry, NBA, this isn't basketball. You're not trying to flop. You're not trying to sell for a call so you can get further on the goal line. You're CeeDee Lamb. You go up and catch those. We've seen you make better catches than that your whole career. So that really kind of irks me. Another thing that I'll kind of bring up is I don't know what happened towards the end of that game. Like that the drive at the end of the game where they got down again into the red zone and then they started running the ball and then they had that play where Dak threw the interception. That whole sequence at the end was just utterly terrible.
You see it, right? It's a question I have to bring up. Critical situations with Mike McCarthy. He's not.
Yeah.
Track record's not the best.
I know that's exactly where I was going. Like the time management was not there, and it wasn't there even a little bit. I was screaming when there was 5-6 minutes left. So like, guys, we got to go. We need a touchdown. In fact, we need 2 scores. And if you don't get this one, you got to at least get a field goal. And I mean, that led to the situation where they got into that pass protection set, and it's just I don't know what Dak was seeing. Obviously, like we've said before, we're couch warriors. We're not on the field. We're not making those big plays like Dak Prescott is and Dallas Cowboys. But I don't know what he saw in that play. Like, why would you throw it into triple coverage when every other single person on the field had a better opportunity to catch the ball? I just that play just really it just ticked me off because it was just the cherry on top. It was like, what are we doing? Like there was just no rhyme or reason to anything. It just the offense, they just got into the red zone, they just couldn't score, and then that happened, and I was just it was a bad performance. I don't know how you can get much worse, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and we'll hit the game with the Patriots in the preview section of the pod. Second thing we got to recap Dolphins. Former ball boy, goes out there and just turns it on, right? Just out coaches Sean Payton, not even close. Puts up a 70 burger on and beats the Broncos by 50. There's a couple ways we can go with this. First of all, I want to hit on Miami. Hell of a performance.
Mm-hmm.
70 points in the NFL, that's hard to do, let alone in real life in a video game. That's hard to do. You know what I mean? Maybe not on, Rookie Pro, but an all Madden game, that's tough to put up 70. Our Madden listeners, you know what I'm talking about. And when you put up 70 on a Denver Broncos team who has a cornerback at the level that he is with Patrick Surtain and a pretty solid defensive line, that's impressive. The Broncos definitely aren't the best team, but that's pretty impressive to do. Tua has the exact same stats through 3 games as he did last year as this year, and he's hooping. The same thing happened last year, you know what I mean, where they started off hooping. We just need to see if they can continue, right? We need to see if they can continue. Tua needs to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Tua's a hit away. You know what I mean? Realistically, Tua is a hit away, and I hate to say that, but he is. You know what I mean? And when this team is going, they're going, right? Like, you can't stop them. And not to mention their backfield with A-Chain. Got to shout out the Ag. You know what I mean? Gig 'em. How many people saw that coming? Not a whole lot of fantasy owners saw that coming, I can tell you that much. And, the defense stopped them when they needed to. 20 points on the Broncos I don't like to see, to be honest. But when you're putting up 70, that's cool. You know what I mean? You can kind of do what you want. Broncos. You're 0-3. And you traded a lot to get a head coach, and it doesn't look like it's working. So all the Broncos fans, sorry about that. You better hope Russ kind of gets it going this next week in Chicago. If you can't beat Chicago, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, Dallas did just lose to the Cardinals, but Chicago has not played well all season, and neither has Denver. So we'll see who wins.
It's like the toilet bowl right there. I don't know who to pick or who's gonna win because it's just been bad from both sides.
Horrendous.
I just think with the Dolphins team that you saw the other night, they're just peaking at every single level. You love to see it. Tyreek Hill, I think it just cements him as one of the best receivers in the NFL, if not the best, because you can't cover him. You just can't. There's not a man in the world that can go one-on-one with Tyreek Hill. You have to put someone up there for safety help, and you might even have to bring another guy over because guess what? He's that good, and he showed it. Like, he didn't do that much, but he still got a lot of points in fantasy. Raheem Mostert, my lovely boy Raheem Mostert, I do love him. And Devon A-Chain. I mean, Devon A-Chain was scoring touchdowns when their backups were in. Like, I think the NFL record was like 73 or something like that, and they had a chance to tie the record, but they didn't. They took a knee or they did something, and they didn't go for it. I had turned off the game by that point, but it's impressive. It's really impressive. It just shows you like how much talent that this Dolphins team really does have. And look at it. It's starting to finally come to fruition. Tua, if he stays healthy, I think they're going to continue to do this. Maybe not 70 points a week, but they're going to put up some points. Don't get me wrong. But then it leads over to the Broncos. What do you do? How do you come back from that? I mean, you just got Sean Payton. You thought this was going to solve all your worries, and now you're 0-3. Like, what's next? Obviously next week is a must-win for both of those teams. The other one being the Bears, and obviously the Broncos. But like, what's next? I thought we had left this in the past, but it looks like it's rearing its ugly head pretty early on in the season. If this continues to happen, is Russ gone?
I think he kind of has to be. I think the Russ experiment is definitely a fail. You know what I mean? And John Elway, again, for some reason, can't get a quarterback. I don't know why. The guy was a great one, but he can't get one to save his life, even when he gets someone like Russell Wilson. And mind you this, they don't have a lot of early draft picks.
I know.
Because of Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. So if you say rebuild, yeah, you got to hit in the later rounds. And that's tough to do. So that's a pretty scary situation. It's only 3 weeks, but still, statistically, if you go 0-4, it's very hard to make the playoffs. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the Broncos. But Chargers, They got their first win against the Vikings. Pretty solid game.
That was a good game.
Chargers went down and won it at the end. Probably my favorite game of this past weekend. But like I was saying last week on the pod, I just had a feeling with Justin Herbert, even with Mike Williams going out with a torn MCL, he's out for the season. He has the wide receivers to be able to make the play. I mean, Keenan Allen's always been the number one. Then you have Palmer there, and then you have the number one draft pick at a TCU, first round draft pick at a TCU. So, that's still pretty solid. But Mike Williams, you never want to see a guy of that caliber go down.
Yeah, they played really well, and I don't think the issue really is with the offense, or the issue has been with the offense at all. Talking about the Chargers. Through these past couple games, they've put up some points, and their defense just hasn't really done that well. We could be talking very differently here if the Vikings converted on that last play of the game, but they didn't. Kirk had a fluke interception, but it is what it is. The Vikings are 0-3, crazy enough. They got Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, and they're 0-3. But for the Chargers, it's good to see, your defense finally make at least some kind of plays, but I still think they need to get better if they want a hope to, at least, I'm not going to say make the playoffs, because I think they might make the playoffs, but go far in the playoffs. That defense needs to start playing a lot better. This week was a good test, and they're getting better slowly. But I don't know. Austin Eckler coming back hopefully soon is going to help that offense just score even more points, so you might not even have to worry about defense.
Yeah, right. I mean, the Chargers are only getting better. The Vikings should not be 0-3. I mean, you literally have the receiving leader, or if not leader number 2, because Tyreek might be number 1 right now, but Justin Jefferson is number 2 at least. And then you have the passing leader right now in Kirk Cousins, and you're 0-3, right? Like that's crazy. That, I mean, it is on the defense, right? Like it's on the defense. And then, like you said, critical situations, you can't turn the ball over there, but hey, I took Kirk in a whim in fantasy this year as my second quarterback in one of my leagues, and I'm liking it so far through 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, with the Vikings, it's very similar to the Chargers. Like, it's not like that. It's not that like one team is just undeniably better than the other one on both sides of the ball. The Chargers have a pretty wishy-washy defense, even though they probably shouldn't. Hey guys, we're back. I don't know what happened. Discord just decided to not, so that was fun. But I will continue my point. I don't know where I left off, but the Chargers defense and the Vikings defense very similar in kind of how they played this season. But Chargers got the win. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, to sum it all up, you nailed it. Now jumping to the next one, Texans destroyed the Jags by 20. Honestly, didn't see that one coming.
Dude,
I really did think the Jags had a hold on this division, but after seeing this performance, that's a little scary. You know what I mean? That's a little scary because, I mean, CJ Stroud is breaking records right now as a rookie with like half his team on IR right now. Most of them being his offensive line, like 4 of them at least are out. Laremy Tunsil's out right now. He's doing this with like Tank Dell. You know what I mean? He's a rookie, but at the same time, like they don't have a number 1 wide receiver on that team. And the defense, they're injured there too. And it's like they just went out and just destroyed the Jaguars. Like that game wasn't even close. I was watching the game and I'm like, I feel so bad for anybody that has Trevor Lawrence in fantasy right now. You need Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. Sorry. Hey, I broke 200 in one of my leagues and I still lost. If Felipe, if you're listening, not cool, man.
That sucks.
Yeah. Anyway, when you have quarterbacks at the caliber where you were drafted with Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, you have to win these games. You have to win these division games. If you lose other games, just don't make it the division, because that matters so much getting into the playoffs. And also, that's 6 wins right there. If you win the division, that is 6 wins. If you can string together 4 more throughout the season, you're probably getting in the playoffs with a 10-8 record. Maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe not, but still. Like, you gotta win the division games. And excuse me, when you have Trevor Lawrence just not show up like that, it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing, Jaguars? I needed to see that next step, and I just didn't see it. I haven't seen it from Fields the whole season. I've seen it from Lawrence throughout the season, but this game, he just dropped it. Just completely dropped it, plain and simple.
Yeah. This loss, it kind of saddens me, because the Jags were expected to go in there and they were expected to wipe the floor with them. And Trevor Lawrence has talent in the receiver core to do that. But like you said, he just wasn't on one that game. I don't really know why or how or what. It's a divisional matchup. Maybe it's just one of those things where they just know each other too well. But Trevor Lawrence, you got Calvin Ridley. You got Christian Kirk. You got Evan Ingram. I don't care. Figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, this is not. This is.
And ETN.
Oh my gosh, and ETN. Like, I don't even know what to say because I get it. The Texans, they've played well, but I mean, they had a lot of opportunities in that game. They had a lot of opportunities, and Trevor Lawrence is just fucking, he oversailed a ball right there, or it's just like not a good play, or his receiver drops one here, or Calvin Ridley just doesn't bring down the ball, or something like that, or it's just like a slight like misplay, and it's just these little errors. It's these little things that are just getting the Jags, and if they can make that right, if they can perfect these little errors, they're gonna win a lot more football games. I think what it starts with the Jags is they just gotta ride ETN. As bad as that sounds, they just gotta ride him into the ground. They gotta force teams to stop the run because ETN had a good day, and he's a really good running back. And if he gets going, ETN gets going, then everything opens up in the rest of the passing game. It doesn't matter. It's going to be easy dink and dunks. Trevor Lawrence, I think he can do it. He's very talented, and if they just kind of simplify it maybe a little bit, maybe that's the option going forward. But the Texans, yeah. Where did this happen? Where did he come from? I love CJ Stroud, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think he was going to do this. When you said like Bryce Young, he's going to look terrible and CJ Stroud's going to light the league up, I said you're crazy. Justin Fields, he walked so CJ Stroud could run. That is what I'm beginning to think, and I am a full believer in the Stroud hype train. All right, I'm jumping on. I believe in the Texans. Will they win the division? I don't know, but I like to see the Texans having fun, and the defensive player they got in the first round. How about him, huh? He's making plays in the field too.
Yeah, Will Anderson Jr. from Alabama.
Will Anderson.
Oh, thank you.
That was insane. He like blocked a kick or something, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he had a great game, and that's what you do, right? When you have these early round picks, that's exactly what you want to see from these players. You have to see them step up in these situations and in these division games.
Yeah.
And guess what? They both did. On the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball, they both stepped up. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better performance. You could not have asked for a better performance from your rookie quarterback. And what a fun division.
I know.
What a fun division going forward. You have Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. You have CJ Stroud in Houston. And then you have Trevor Lawrence, we were just talking about, in Jacksonville. And who's the fourth team in that division? I'm blanking right now.
The Titans. Who lost?
Oh, well, that's a dumpster fire in terms of quarterback right now. No disrespect to Ryan Tannehill, but I mean, they have, they've drafted two quarterbacks very high these last couple of years, and they both haven't really panned out so far yet. So other than them, yeah, but hey, maybe they could be in for a high pick. Not really. They got Derrick Henry there. Anyway, before we get off on that, I don't want to get on a Titans update. It's time for a Browns update, Tanner.
Well, guess what? A Titans update is a Browns update because the Browns destroyed the Titans this week. I think they only scored like three points or so. The Browns were back in form. I think they took this week. Nick Chubb got injured last week, if you saw, and it was pretty bad. But Jerome Ford, he stepped up and he played amazingly. I loved what Cleveland was doing with them. They were running the ball and they were running it efficiently. And when they weren't running the ball, they were using Jerome Ford in like these pass sets, and even getting a little bit of Kareem Hunt involved. They just recently signed him. So I love what Cleveland is doing. Deshaun Watson looked like a new man on that Sunday. Maybe it was because he wasn't playing the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, which, is probably true in some sense. But the Titans, they didn't look good at all, and the Browns took advantage of that. There's really not much else to say. It was Browns all the way. Myles Garrett had like 3.5 sacks. The defense is rolling once more, and the Browns are looking pretty good. And if they hadn't lost the game to the Steelers, they would be in the division lead right now. But they're 2-1, and I think they're behind, definitely behind the Steelers, and I think the Ravens are 2-1 as well. But I think that means the Browns are 1-1 in the division. The Ravens are like 1-0, I think, and then the Steelers are 1-0, I think. So both of them have a better division record. So I think Cleveland's number 3, but they all have the same overall record. But that's good to see. That's good to see. The Bengals sitting at 1-2. They won last night, which is something I do want to go on about after this. But what did you think of Cleveland?
I mean, I like the game. You know, I like Deshaun Watson. He actually looked like old Deshaun Watson playing for the Texans. You know, and like I mean, I couldn't have said it better. Myles Garrett. When you have a player of that caliber, sometimes they control games. T.J. Watt does it a lot. So does Myles Garrett. You couldn't pass him even when what didn't show up on the stat sheet is how many times he was in the backfield. You know what I mean? And how many times that Tannehill had to get out of the way or move or it affected a throw. So it was just a defensive dominant performance. And, you know, the dog pound was really going. But go ahead on the Bengals. What do you got on the Bengals?
I think the Bengals was a really, really fun Monday night game because you saw Joe Burrow finally get back into form where you've seen him throughout his career. He looked really good, especially in that second half, and he was just diming up Jamar Chase, which is a connection that everyone needed throughout this season. You know, I was playing against him, but luckily I had a big enough lead that it didn't matter. So it was nice to see them getting back on the right foot. Now for the Rams, this might have been, even though I don't root for the Rams in any capacity, one of the most frustrating games to watch from like a fan perspective because the Rams offense was probably one of the most predictable things I think I could have ever seen. And obviously, again, I'm like an armchair warrior. You know, we're out here not being NFL head coaches and stuff like that. But I think they only ran the ball like 12 times, and that was including that one rush at the end from Matthew Stafford. When you do that, especially with a talented running back like Kyron Williams, I just don't think you're going to win games. I don't think it's a very smart thing to do, especially in today's NFL. You have to mix it up with a run. You have to at least pound the ball a little bit. You saw the Eagles do it in the other Monday night game, and they destroyed the Bucs. Now, yeah, no, it's the Eagles. They run the ball. That's their scheme. But the Rams, they have a good running back. And if you're not going to run the ball, find a creative way to get Kyron Williams in the game. You know, he's been a playmaker for the past 2 games. They go down to the red zone, they run the ball, they put him in the end zone. That's what they've been doing. That's how they've been winning. And they just, for some reason, got away from it. And they lost the game because of it, really. I mean, whenever they ran the ball, there was like once, twice, you know, maybe 3 times where they didn't get a good rush attempt. And the other times he would go for like 4 or 5 yards, you know, and it's just, why do you not establish the run in today's NFL? I don't understand it. I really don't. The Bengals did. Their quarterback was struggling. They were struggling a lot. You know, in that first half, you saw it was 6-6 at the end of the first half. Struggling. The receivers weren't catching balls. T. Higgins was off all night. Jamar Chase, he finally got it going in the second half, but in the first half, you know, they weren't going well. And Joe Mixon rushes for that touchdown. Boom, opens up a whole new world of opportunities. You know, you have to run the ball in today's NFL if you want to be successful. It's come on.
No, I mean I couldn't have said it myself. That might have been the rant of the century. I loved it. No, yeah, I mean, like I said, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think you nailed it. I want to jump on one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
We got to talk about these Jets.
Oh gosh.
we got to talk about these Jets. We also got to talk about the fantasy hit I'm taking right now for Garrett Wilson. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? Give my man the rock. You know, visibly upset. Yelling at Zach Wilson, and that wasn't the only receiver or offensive player to do it. He clearly doesn't have that locker room. Like it's pretty clear, you know, just as a fan watching this team that you can see it's not even there. And when you have a legendary quarterback like Joe Namath, who is like one of the only great quarterbacks from the Jets, come out and say what he said, you know, about it's over. You need to get rid of him and dump him essentially. I mean, it's hard to argue it at the same time. I'm going to say I told you so. I told you Zach Wilson coming out of BYU with realistically only 1 year of college experience. When you add up all I mean, it just, the writing was on the wall. He relies on his legs to make a play in the NFL. You can't do that because the defensive ends are also running 4.53s.
Mm-hmm.
So when the defensive ends are faster than you, bigger than you, and stronger than you, you're not going to outrun them. You know what I mean? And to me, he just doesn't have the locker room. There's no excuses with the offense. The offense is a great offense, one of the best offenses in the NFL. I think if Aaron Rodgers is there, and the running back duo that they have with Dalvin Cook, and Brees Hall, and then you have a wide receiver of Garrett Wilson in year 2 that is just taking a leap and one of the best young receivers in the game right now, and you don't even give him the ball really. I don't know what the offense is. I can't really fault the offensive coordinator here. He thinks he's getting Aaron Rodgers, and it's Zach Wilson. So they signed Trevor Siemian. I don't know if that's necessarily really the answer to all the prayers. I don't think they're going to go out, and get a quarterback. But if Aaron Rodgers does come back next year and the Jets keep losing, there's a pretty solid draft class coming up. So that's not a bad thing if the Jets continue to take a stumble, and Aaron Rodgers is for sure coming back. You never want to see that as a Jets fan, but hey, I know there's a guy named Marvin Harrison Jr. that's not going to be number 1 because most likely Caleb Williams be. Maybe if you're that bad, you could get up there. Who knows? But
Hey.
this team, man, Zach Wilson it's just not it. You know what I mean? Like it's not it. He's not really a backup on this team anymore. I don't think he's gonna stay here the whole season. I really don't. I think the fans alone are gonna get him out of there. But we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens. I really don't think the Jets are gonna win this week either with their matchup. But what do you got on that? You kind of agree or not agree there?
I don't know if there's a world where anyone disagrees with this because Zach Wilson is just not it. He's just not it. There's not really much else to say. It's a scheme that was built around Aaron Rodgers, and then Aaron Rodgers goes away. I mean, that's pretty much it. The defense is pretty good. They held the Patriots, I think, to like 15 points. Patriots are a pretty good offense. That's a long veteran in Mac Jones. And they held them to 15 points. You probably should win that game if you're the Jets, especially if you hold them to that little. I guess just if you're playing fantasy this season, which a lot of people are, go get the defense that's playing the Jets, and you're probably going to get at least 5 points. I don't know. The Jets stink.
Yeah, not good, not good at all. But that's it. For the last week. Now we're gonna do some matchup preview and picks for this upcoming weeks for our betting listeners. Tanner's got the you got the results ready to go from last week, Tanner. Or you need me to pull it up?
Oh boy, do I have the results! It was a good week for me. Let's say that. In week 3, I went 5-1. That was pretty nice. The only game I didn't pick correctly was Dallas, and it should have been correct. You know what I mean?
It should have been correct. If you were a betting man or woman, you should have listened to Tanner last episode.
That's true. But hey, you weren't bad yourself. 4-2. It's only one behind, and the only other one that we differed on was the Steelers and the Raiders. I picked the Steelers, and you picked the Raiders. So we are now both 9-7 on the season.
9-7 overall. Going into week 4, we got Thursday night Lions Packers. We're gonna start off there. Go ahead, kick us off. Who do you got?
Give me the Lions. I'm feeling the Goffense, baby. Come on, it's the Goffense. Did you see what they did last week to the very hot Atlanta Falcons? Bijan Robinson, who? Drake London, who? Desmond Ridder, who? Come on, give me the Lions. They look good. The Packers, don't get me wrong, they also look good. Jordan Love has played very, very well through these first couple games, but I just feel there's something special. There's something on the shoulders of the Lions. I feel like they got a chip there, and they're just fun to watch. Plus, I got him on Ross St. Brown in fantasy, and I'm just riding him into the ground.
There you go. I think you and I have the exact same pick. I definitely got the Lions too. They look good. They look really, really good this year, and I gotta keep it going. I think Jordan Love struggled a little bit last week, came back and got a good win. But hey, I think the Lions are going to keep it rolling. I think that offense is starting to click, and they're going to give the ball to Gibbs more.
Yeah,
Ross St. Brown, like you said, is already going, and then Jameson Williams comes back, mid-season. So that offense is only going to get better. I'm riding Goff in fantasy. I love it. The Goffense. That can't believe I've never heard of that before, but that's hilarious. Jumping to the Sunday morning game, we've got the Dolphins against the Bills.
This is a Sunday morning game.
Sunday morning game right now.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean noon where you're at, but 10
Yeah,
o'clock where I'm at.
but
You know,
it's the early game.
I'm gonna start it off, dude.
Okay.
I'm gonna go against here. I'm gonna go Bills.
It hurts.
I'm gonna go Bills. I'm gonna go Bills against the Dolphins. I think the Bills are gonna give them their first loss. I think Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are gonna have a field day. I also think the Dolphins are gonna have a field day as well. But it's either gonna be a really high scoring back and forth game, or it's just gonna be a game that nobody saw coming in, like a defensive battle. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Bills there. I'm gonna go with the Bills. I have a feeling, so I'm gonna go Bills versus Dolphins on that one. I'm gonna go Bills.
You know what? I like your spirit. I like your spirit. I didn't think that we were both going to go Bills here, but I'm going to go Bills because I do love Josh Allen. He is my boy. And it's a divisional matchup. You don't know what's going to happen. It's just one of those games that's kind of like, ooh, I don't know. You know, the Bills, obviously the Dolphins are hot. They might be the hottest team in the NFL right now. But the Bills have kind of dominated that division for the past couple years, and I feel like they know what they're doing against the Dolphins, especially since they played them twice, last year. And not saying they know how to hold Tyreek Hill, but they know how to slow him down at least a little bit because I think they did win in one of those games. So I'm gonna go Bills. I like it.
Yeah, I mean they got a great corner over there. They got some speed with the corner out of LSU, Tre'Davious White. So he'll be on Tyreek. We'll see how he does. It's kind of hard to match up against him. I'm not sure if Jalen Waddle is going to go. I know he's still in concussion protocol, but we'll see. If Jalen Waddle doesn't go, that's a huge advantage for the Bills. Cowboys and Patriots. I'm going to go Cowboys. Dallas typically doesn't have two bad games in a row, so I think bettors take the Cowboys, and I also think the offense is going to do pretty well this week. The Patriots are at Dallas, so you know it's going to be one of those games. I think it's not going to be as ugly as Arizona, but I don't think that team's going to show. I hope that team doesn't show up the rest of the season, the one that showed up against Arizona. But I think Dallas is going to go out there. I think Dak's going to look really good. I think Tony Pollard's going to continue to run the ball, and I think CD's going to go up and get the ball in the red zone this time. And then I think the Patriots just don't have enough on offense. They really, Zeke's going to be hungry. They're going to give the ball to Zeke, but this defense has played against Zeke for the last 4 years. So, I'm not too worried about Zeke. I'm not really worried about anybody on the Patriots, but I also wasn't worried about anybody on the Cardinals. They just won. You know what I mean? But still, this is a game you should win. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You should have won last week as well, but you have to bounce back and win this week. So I definitely got the Cowboys in this one.
I think despite what happened last week with Dak Prescott, I think he's going to go out here and I think he's going to have a very very good game because that's just what you said. That's what he likes to do. He likes to bounce back against teams. And a couple years ago they did play the Patriots and it went to overtime and it was actually a really good game. And Dak threw a walk-off touchdown to CD. It was pretty awesome. So I think those two are going to connect a lot. I think the Patriots are going to do everything in their power to stop Tony Pollard and force Dak to throw the ball, which is, it's a Bill Belichick move. It's just what he likes to do. But I think Dak's going to play well. I think he's pissed. I think he's not happy. I don't think the defense is happy. I think that whole team is mad, and when that team is mad, they're good. So give me the Cowboys.
Absolutely. And then jumping to the Chiefs and the Jets. That's a Sunday night game.
Dude.
Keep it quick, keep it simple. If Aaron Rodgers was there, that would have been a great game. But I don't see the Jets winning that one. So I'm going to go Chiefs by big on that one. And then I'm assuming you're the same. Do you really have anything to say on that one?
Chiefs.
That's it.
Give
Chiefs from Tanner.
Give me the Swifty. Yeah, come on.
Chiefs from Tanner and I. Last game of the pod. Monday night, we got the Seahawks versus the Giants. I actually think this is going to be a pretty good game. I think it's going to be way better than the Sunday night game. I think the Chiefs are just going to stomp the Jets on Sunday night. Personally, I think this one's going to be close, but I do think the Seahawks come out here and win the game. It's just hard to pick against all their offensive playmakers that they have against the Giants defense. You know what I mean? The Giants defense has not looked good this season at all. If they didn't come back by 28 points, they wouldn't have beat the Arizona Cardinals, right? So their offense can show up, but at the same time, their defense hasn't looked the greatest. Once again, 28 points to Arizona. We can't say a whole lot, right? But still, I don't think the Giants are going to get it done this week. I'm going to go Seattle. I have a feeling Gino's going to have himself a day.
I'm gonna go Seattle as well. I don't. I kind of think we're having the same feeling, but I think the Giants just don't have the defense capabilities to hold the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, these guys have just absolute burners for receivers. They got DK and Tyler Lockett. Going up against the Giants secondary, I don't even know who's starting in it. So I'm going to take the Seahawks in that matchup. And Kenneth Walker.
And not to mention their rookie wide receiver as well, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Oh, yeah, him too. He hasn't gotten like a lot of action this season, but he came.
He's been battling a lot of injuries.
Yeah. I think too with Kenneth Walker, he's playing extraordinarily well. I love that he's just pissed that they drafted Charbonnet, and he's just like running the ball. I think he's like 4 touchdowns, which is just dumb. And it doesn't sound like that many because the Dolphins got 4 touchdowns apiece for their running backs this past week. But Seahawks are kind of
lost in fantasy.
That sucks. I'm sorry. I really am. It stinks. I know. 200 points and you lost. That just stinks. Raheem Mostert scored 40 for me, and Kenneth Walker scored 30. I don't know. I'm sorry, but give me the Seahawks. I think they're going to continue to roll. They're kind of one of these sneaky teams. I think that's like secretly kind of pretty good, and a lot of people, for some reason, counted them out, even though they're pretty good. I think they're pretty good. So yeah, give me Seahawks.
Exactly, and they got better over the offseason for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that is all the matchups we got. Tanner, any more football notes, or are we ending this thing?
Dude, I just Taylor Swift. Can we see Kelsey at like a Taylor Swift concert? Like, can he like perform? Can he get up on stage? He'll do it. He will.
He will do it. He is a performer. That is for sure.
What if they go back to the Super Bowl? Are we seeing a Taylor halftime performance? Is that going to happen?
No.
You don't think so?
No shot.
Didn't they already announce?
That's already. Yeah, it's Usher. I think it's Usher, isn't it?
Oh, it's Usher. But she could come down. Give her like a set or something.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like that's just that she doesn't just do a set. You know what I mean? that's you know what I mean?
That's
like
true.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. That's about all we got for the sports talk, if you want to call it that, for this episode. We'll see you next week, folks.
Bye-bye.